Sunrise crawled up the San Fernando Valley on the kind of April morning that looked harmless from a distance. Thin apricot light, breeze smelling faintly of jacaranda. Yet everyone in Los Angeles already knew the city would spend the next 18 hours balanced on a knife. For 3 nights straight, New Dawn demonstrators, self-described vanguard of the woke resistance, had marched along Van Nuys and Magnolia, waving cardboard thunderbolts painted neon green, chanting that the entertainment industry must repent for systemic sins. Studios had boarded their facades. Helicopters hovered like steel mosquitoes, and every local newsroom needed a headline hero or villain before rating sweeps week began. Network producer Rachel Fong, 37, whipcord smart, Harvard J School, proud card-carrying progressive, believed she had found both roles in one neat package, Clint Eastwood. She could already visualize the segment slug on tomorrow's cheering. Eastwood versus New Dawn, the moral showdown. All she needed was a stage and the spark was scheduled for 2 p.m. sharp. At 7:05 a.m., Rachel stood inside Studio 4's cavernous black box, where crew members affixed fresh gel filters to Fresnels and gaffers taped neon lime arrows on the floor to guide cable snakes. 30 feet away, a collapsible protest sign leaned against a sandbag. Burn the monuments of privilege. She read it, sipped iced espresso, and reminded herself that journalism, real journalism, didn't pick sides. It merely lit them better than daylight. Then she checked her phone for the 100th time. No text from her guest yet. 43 freeway miles west, in a modest Carmel Mission-style house he had rented for the week, Clint Eastwood padded barefoot across cold terracotta tile and double-checked the time on an analog wristwatch older than most of his critics. He always traveled with that watch, a 1955 self-winder that lost 9 seconds a month. Close enough, he liked to say, for government work and philosophical debates. The invitation Rachel Fong's assistant had sent read like a dare wrapped in silk. Please join us live for a candid one-on-one regarding the ongoing New Dawn protests, the duty of public storytelling, and America's evolving moral compass. Clint smelled an ambush from the first syllable, yet something about the phrase one-on-one intrigued him. He had sparred with tougher interviewers than any network could throw. Besides, if the streets were broiling with slogans, perhaps a calm word or two from an old cowpoke might temper the kettle. He showered, shaved the gray stubble down to dignified roughness, buttoned a denim shirt the color of faded Atlantic, and tossed a beat-up leather notebook into his bag. Notes from 60-odd years of sets, each page a crumb on the long trail of what he still believed mattered. Character, consequence, earned respect. By 9:10 a.m., his rental Chevy crested the last interchange before downtown. 2 freeway lanes were closed by a rolling police escort guiding hundreds of protesters on foot, fluorescent placards, rainbow flags, fists pumping in sync. Clint cracked the window and heard a chant drift up like smoke. N.O. justice, N.O. screen time, N.O. legends without crime. He couldn't decipher whether crime meant historical oppression or the simple fact of being over 50 with an Oscar. Either way, nobody looked at the utilitarian sedan slipping past. Fame, he mused, had a half-life shorter than courage and longer than gossip. Studio 4's security gate loomed behind barricades festooned with bunting that declared, somewhat optimistically, "Today we talk, not shout." The guard recognized Clint's craggy silhouette instantly, pulled a walkie, whispered code, waved him through. Inside, a handler shepherded him down slick corridors lined with Emmy photos and brand-new virtue signaling posters. Sustainability is sexy. Ally is a verb. The slogans reminded him of annual corporate pep talks the studios had begun staging after whichever scandal bubbled that quarter. He stopped at one poster depicting a black transgender superhero hugging a white disabled coder under the caption "Unity is inevitable." The artwork struck him as sincere, maybe, but inevitability? Nothing about unity was inevitable. It took back-breaking, spirit-bruising, daily tending, like rows of stubborn grapevines in the Carmel fog. Rachel Fong greeted him on the soundstage floor with a handshake firm as tempered glass. "Mr. Eastwood, Clint, thank you for coming." Let's mic you up and get straight into this. She motioned toward twin leather wingbacks set beneath a swooping LED wall. The screen's placeholder graphic rotated between two still images. On the left, a crowd of kneeling New Dawn protesters silhouetted by flares. On the right, a 30-foot portrait of Clint from Gran Torino, jaws set, eyes flinty. Subtle. He resisted a smirk, lowered himself into the chair, and let the audio engineer snake a lav cord under his collar. Quick logistics. Rachel perched on the opposite wingback, crossing legs in hunter green slacks, so sharp they could julienne sentiment. We're live at 2 o'clock. Segment planned 90 minutes, no commercial break. That means uninterrupted conversation. Conversation, Clint echoed, tasting the word for hidden pits. Not debate. She tilted her chin. Those aren't mutually exclusive. But yes, conversation. I ask, you answer, we peel layers. We owe it to the public. He tapped the notebook in his lap. Public's owed lots. Truth sits high on the list. Rachel stared, recalibrating whether she was about to film a ratings grenade or a dud. Mind if we run through the protest reel? Sets the stakes for viewers who haven't followed. Fire away. Stage manager cued the LED. Clips rolled. Throngs chanting outside City Hall. Police in bicycle helmets. Tear gas plumes from earlier unrest. A faceless narrator intoned about generational pain and corporate complicity. Then the feed cut to a still of Rachel herself, interviewing a New Dawn spokesperson, 22-year-old Ivy Leaguer turned street organizer named Jaden Bliss, who had said, "Art that ignores intersectional truth is a bullet through the future." The line lingered frozen on screen. Rachel clicked her pen. Let's begin there. Art is bullet. You've been called a gunslinger of mythic Americana. Does your iconography encourage violence against marginalized identities? Clint scratched his eyebrow. Depends who's holding the icon and why. A hammer builds a house or cracks a skull. Tools indifferent. Hands decide. My films ask what kind of hand you want on the hammer. Rachel smiled with only her eyes. You've also been accused of romanticizing a frontier morality. Frontier meaning white, heterosexual, male dominance. Accused, that's court language. Film is cross-examination. You put a flawed man on screen, jury of viewers deliberates. Sometimes they acquit him, sometimes they don't. But they own the verdict, not me. The stage manager raised 3 fingers. Rehearsal window closing. Rachel leaned forward. When a real broadcast starts, I'll push harder. Be disappointed if you didn't. At 1:58 p.m., red tally lights blinked awake. Teleprompter rolled disclaimers, and Rachel inhaled as though about to free dive. Clint let air out slow, the way he'd done before the first take of Unforgiven's final showdown. The countdown hit 0. Satellites stitched the studio to living rooms in 4 time zones. Good afternoon, Rachel began, voice smooth as droughtless rain. I'm Rachel Fong, and today we confront questions at the heart of a nation divided. On one side, activists demanding radical cultural reform. On the other, artists who say the foundation still holds if we shore it, not raise it. My guest, legendary filmmaker Clint Eastwood, has portrayed America's contradictions for decades. Some praise him as a moral compass. Others label him relic of a bygone cruelty. Clint, welcome. Glad to be here. He kept tone even, as though reading a phone book of species yet never discovered. Let's not bury the lead. She swiveled slightly, cueing screen graphic. Day 3 of New Dawn marches, city on edge. Protesters outside say conservative voices fuel oppression. Do you accept partial blame for their pain? He considered. Pain comes from deeper wells than movies. If pictures alone could chain folks, we wouldn't need laws, only ticket stubs. A murmur strobed through studio audience. Handpicked, but not all friendly. Rachel pressed. Yet representation shapes reality. Your breakout westerns relegated women and people of color to background dust. True enough, he conceded. But context rides shotgun with truth. Those films mirrored the studios that funded them, which mirrored the audience that paid. If you want a cleaner mirror, you polish the glass. You don't outlaw the reflection. Rachel pounced. Isn't that a dodge? Glass can be so warped the reflection injures. Clint opened his notebook. Page 61. Scribble from 68. He read scrawl. Give every character respect, or the story collapses. Been at that polishing half a century. Still at it. But you won't fix distortion by shattering the pane and handing every shard equal screen time. Somebody bleeds then. Equitable shards, though, Rachel countered. We're told pain is part of progress. Pain without purpose is vandalism. Pain with purpose is childbirth. Decide which one you're midwifing, then bear the screams. Rachel blinked. The metaphor rattled. She regrouped, pivoting to a video of last night's protester interviews. Up flashed Jaden Bliss, bandana around neck, eyes blazing. We will deplatform old gatekeepers, Jaden declared. We are the future. Rachel faced Clint. That's the temperature outside. Thoughts? Clint sighed, not out of fatigue, but caution. Every generation talks like it invented forever. I did at 20. Then forever changed hats. Ask me about future, and I'll ask which one. The one we shout into being, or the one we build with calloused hands after the chant fades. The LED feed discreetly slid into B-roll so viewers wouldn't watch Rachel recalibrate yet again. She straightened. Let's get personal. You're 80-something, white male, wealthy. A perfect symbol for what activists want dismantled. Convince them you still deserve the megaphone. He laughed softly. I don't need a megaphone. I need sentences that hold water. If they leak, people walk away. Free market of ideas, right? Free markets presuppose level entry. She leaned closer. Intersectionality 101. Privilege buys a head start. Privilege exists, he granted. So does gravity. You can curse it or learn to climb. What helps more? Handing folks gear or banning mountains? Rachel's nostrils flared. She sensed viewers at home leaning, waiting to see if she would let the rhetorical hook stand. She dove. Gear distribution is exactly what activists demand, systemic reallocation. I hear systemic thrown like holy water, Clint said. But a system is just people wearing policies like hats. Change the hats, sure, but don't shoot the heads underneath and expect the body to walk. Scoreboards blinked in control room minds. Social analysts predicted trending clips. Hashtag hand me gear, not mountains. Hashtag privilege is gravity. Meanwhile, the interview carved deeper channels. Rachel shifted tactics, statistics, avalanche. She cited USC's annual Annenberg report. 90% of top-grossing films still directed by men. 40% of speaking roles still white. Doesn't that back the protesters? Clint countered with his own ledger. He named Million Dollar Baby, female lead. Letters from Iwo Jima, Japanese cast. Changeling, child abduction trauma, exposing police misogyny. Progress exists. Slow? Yes. But run too fast on loose gravel and you break ankles. She rebounded. Lives break now. Shouldn't urgency outrun caution? Cracking eggs for omelets works until you crack the skillet too. He told a brief set story. Flags of our fathers cost overruns due to new crew diversity rule that quadrupled daily paperwork. But he kept the rule because 2 interns turned out essential voices correcting Iwo Jima's dialect authenticity. Result: film resonated in Tokyo, helped repatriate war letters to families. Balance, Miss Fong, is a dance, not a standoff. Rachel flagged that he used Miss, potential microaggression. Call me Rachel, she said. He dipped head. Respectfully, Rachel. The correction avoided derailment, but producers recognized a fissure. They fed her fresh ammo over IFB. Let's talk morality, she said. Protesters claim conservative values mask white supremacy and heteronormativity. You defend those values. How? Graphic flash behind. Red barn, church steeple, nuclear family silhouettes. Clint stared a beat. Conservatism at root means conserving what time proved useful. Truth-telling, self-restraint, neighborly duty, law above impulse. If those are supremacist now, the dictionary changed without notifying dictionaries. Self-restraint. Rachel raised eyebrow. Many see your film's violence as glorification. He nodded. I portray violence with consequence. Bodies stay dead. Killers lose pieces of soul. That's moral, not celebratory. He referenced Unforgiven's epilogue. It's a hell of a thing killing a man. Camera cut to his face. A map of lines, each etched by decades measuring distances between trigger and regret. Control room notice social feed tilting unexpectedly. Hashtags praising nuance, trending alongside condemnation. The interview, yet fiercer. Rachel played final card. Live link with protest leader Jaden Bliss in remote feed. Jaden's face filled screen. Crowd roared behind him. Clint, meet the future, Rachel said. Jaden, you're on. Jaden wasted 0 syllables. Mr. Eastwood, your macho myths baptize America in toxic nostalgia. When you pedestalize the lone gun, real guns kill real kids today. Accountability begins with retiring men like you. Clint leaned toward monitor, voice gentle. Jaden, you're passionate, smart, and brave to march. But blame works like salt. A pinch flavors, too much corrodes the pot. Jaden smirked. Salt preserves, old-timer. Clint smiled back. Only if you've got meat worth keeping. Audience gasped. Jaden sputtered. But Rachel cut feed to maintain broadcast standards. She pivoted lightning quick. We've aged out of your generation's idioms, Clint. Is there room in your moral universe for a non-binary, climate-anxious, historically oppressed youth movement? Room's big enough, he answered. But rooms need windows, not mirrors on every wall. You spend all day looking at your reflection. The sun sets, and you forget which way is west. The line landed like a thud of sermon behind barn doors. Twitter exploded. Hashtag, windows not mirrors, trending ahead of halftime show leaks. Commercial-free clock read 85 minutes. Rachel's cheeks flushed. She sensed control yelling rap cues. She leaned in for final salvo. Why should protesters listen to someone whose films shape the culture they want dismantled? Because I listen back, he said. Dialogue takes 2 ears per mouth. She froze. Sometimes a single sentence scripts itself onto the teleprompter of national memory. Producers knew it. Interns whispered it. Rivals envied it. She exhaled. We're out of time. She thanked sponsors, promised continuing coverage, and cut. But the day's plot refused credits. While crew powered down lamps, a junior tech holding a clipboard approached Clint. Sir, protesters plan to picket the studio exit in 15. They want you to walk through them. Open mic. Clint considered. Confrontation in the raw. No cameras? That, he told himself, might be more cinema than any lens could capture. He changed shoes, boots with rubber soles for pavement bounce, and followed the tech to the back door. Rachel watched from across the stage, something between awe and frustration flickering on her brow. She jogged over. Clint, mind if I tag along? Off record. He shrugged. Free country. Outside, golden hour bled through smog. A gauntlet of signs awaited. Cancel cowboy culture. Repent for representation. Make art make amends. Jaden Bliss stood atop a milk crate, megaphone in hand. When he spotted Clint, he raised the cone. Behold the fossil. Clint raised a bare hand, palm outward. No hush sign, simply greeting. Got a minute? Jaden hesitated. Crowd smelled plot twist. Speak, he allowed. Clint stepped forward alone. No network cameras, just hundreds of phones. He addressed Jaden, but pitched voice to the throng. You march because stories wounded you. I wrote some of those stories. I'm here to ask how to heal. A murmur rolled. Jaden regained footing. Begin by surrendering your platform. Sold it long ago, Clint said, patting chest. All that's left is this old microphone, my name. I'll lend it to anyone who talks with me. Not at me. Jaden's brows knit. Tokenism. No, Clint replied. Tandemism. 2 riders pedal farther than one. From the rear, a woman shouted, Words aren't enough. Clint turned, recognized signed seamstress from row 12 inside studio earlier. She looked torn between rage and recognition. He nodded. Action, then. I'll fund a scholarship under one condition. Winners host a debate series where no mic gets cut short, no matter the stance. Call it the Windows Project. Phones sparkled, capturing the phrase. Jaden debated internally. Optics of refusing free money? He spoke. We'll draft terms. Good, Clint said. Drafts mean pens, not knives. The tension shifted shape. A chant started low. Words and work, words and work. Even Jaden joined. Helicopters above, realigned for better angle. Rachel Fong, witness to unscripted history, felt journalistic instincts roar. Yet she remembered her off-record promise, stayed silent, letting events breathe, unaided. At 6 p.m., streetlights flickered. Protesters began dispersing, some shaking Clint's hand, others still skeptical, yet strangely calm. Jaden offered a curt nod. The day looked ready to exhale. But news cycles abhor a vacuum. While Clint retrieved his bag inside, a junior associate producer dashed up to Rachel. Social metrics insane. Network want a round 2 panel. You Eastwood, Bliss, maybe a senator. Rachel scanned the exit where Clint emerged, adjusting his watch band. She pictured another 90-minute battle, but something deeper tugged. Maybe the bigger story was what would happen next in neighborhoods, classrooms, film sets. She responded, "Tell the network real work starts off camera. Pitch them a documentary on the Windows Project instead." Producer blinked. Ratings sacrilege. Yet Rachel's voice held iron. "Trust me." Across the lot Clint approached, smiled wearily. "Long day. Worth every mile," she replied. "If you'll allow, dinner's on me. I know a joint with bad lighting, great dumplings, 0 cameras." He chuckled. "Lead the way. Just don't ask me to use chopsticks. Internet already crucifies my fork posture." They walked toward a side gate, twin silhouettes of generational opposites who had just proven conversation could bruise without breaking bone. Somewhere behind them, the LED wall still glowed faintly, glitching, as if recalibrating which stories to light next. Hours later, after soup did its quiet alchemy and they traded childhood anecdotes. Hers about clashing immigrant expectations, his about Depression-era hunger. They parted outside the restaurant. Rachel flagged a rideshare. Clint extended a hand. "Thanks for the rope," he said. "We both pulled some knots loose." She shook it. "Knots make nets. Loose nets catch more truth." He tipped invisible hat, climbed into his sedan, and drove north along the moonlit 101. Radio chatter about the day's showdown flickered in and out, but he let most words dissolve against windshield hush. At a rest stop overlooking dark ocean, he parked, stepped out, and felt coastal wind thread through shirt buttons. Out on distant water, protest lights from a Solidarity kayak flotilla bobbed like fragile stars. He took the leather notebook, flipped to a fresh page, wrote, "Day ended without gunfire, ended with grammar. That's worth a sunrise." He closed the cover, exhaled. Somewhere a tide slapped stone. He angled his wristwatch under moonbeams. Lost another 9 seconds this month. Good enough. He set the hands forward to match official atomic time, smiled, and slid behind the wheel, engine purring like an old story newly tuned. The highway ahead curved into darkness, and he felt in his bones the country would keep arguing long after his final frame faded. But perhaps, if days like this repeated, the arguments might tune themselves toward pitch, not just volume. He eased into gear, merging with the night, carrying windows instead of mirrors, hoping one more cracked pane had let enough fresh air in for the Republic to breathe differently by morning. Night folded around the highway like a tarpaulin while Clint Eastwood steered the Chevy up the coast, headlights slitting through Pacific mist. An hour past the rest stop notebook entry, he crossed the Santa Clara County line and felt the engine settle into a rhythmic hum, the mechanical equivalent of a horse finding perfect trot after a day of rocks and switchbacks. He could have driven straight to the rented bungalow, crawled into bed, let the day dry like sweat on woven cotton, but the interview buzz still sizzled in muscle and marrow, refusing sleep. At 2:14 a.m., he veered inland at a little-used exit marked Agua Caliente Canyon. The frontage road narrowed to 2 lanes bordered by eucalyptus. Their hanging strips of bark flapped against metal like half-asleep flags. 5 miles upslope, the pavement yielded to gravel. He killed the engine, stepped out, and listened. No helicopters, no chanting, only crickets rehearsing a Gregorian scale. Stars finally managed a full showing, unmolested by city glare. Orion lounging over the ridge, half-moon caught in the crook of a pine like a silver saddle. He inhaled, thought of his father taking him hunting at 14, teaching that silence is the first lesson and marksmanship the last. Tonight, silence taught. This moment will vanish if you don't burn it into memory. He burned it, climbed back in, and rolled downhill towards sleep at 3:07 a.m. Next morning, 8:30 a.m., Carmel rental. Phone vibrated itself toward the table's edge. Clint fumbled awake, fished it up. Unknown number, Washington, D.C. prefix. Mr. Eastwood, a brisk voice said. This is Congressman Elijah Trent's policy director. The congressman caught last night's interview and would like you to testify at an upcoming House hearing on cultural free speech. We can accommodate your schedule. Slow down, son, Clint rasped. It's dawn and I'm half coffin-bound. Send an email. I'll read, not promise. Policy director gushed thanks. Call ended. He set phone down, brewed coffee thicker than the Pacific fog barreling over Cyprus, and open laptop. Inbox already a wildfire. Conservative columnists hailing him as free speech savior. Progressive bloggers dissecting microaggressions he didn't remember committing. 3 indie producers pitching mini-series dramatizations of the clash at Studio 4. One subject line from Rachel Fong. Windows project. Work session today? He smiled despite weariness. Typed. Drive north. Dumpling place opens at 1. Bring Jaden if he'll sit. Hit send. 11:12 a.m. UCLA campus, Bruin Plaza. Jaden Bliss accepted the invite less out of conciliation than curiosity. Could Clint's scholarship offer be real or PR smoke? He walked across campus where New Dawn volunteers stacked protest signs in a makeshift shed. Some wanted to escalate, plan a mass walkout of film school lectures until colonial syllabi were replaced. Jaden told them, we try the Windows experiment first. Rope before dynamite. None cheered. Some shrugged. A few grumbled betrayal. Movements, he realized, were hydra-headed. Cut or calm one neck and 2 more hiss. 1:04 p.m., Golden Dragon Dumpling House, Fremont. Red lacquer tables chipped at the corners, fluorescent tubes buzzing like angry bees, aroma of chili oil promising redemption. Clint arrived first, claimed a rear booth. Rachel slid in next, legal pad already scribbled. Then Jaden, hoodie, and printout of draft scholarship charter. Small talk stumbled until the server dropped plates of Sheng Jian Bao, bottoms fried gold. Rachel set the stage. Funding structure. Clint's endowment matched by a community crowdfunding pool, so no side owns the project. Selection board. Equal seats conservative, progressive, unaffiliated. Deliverable. Monthly debates filmed, uploaded unedited. Jaden added, and workshops on rhetorical ethics, so people learn to duel with arguments, not ad hominem. Clint nodded. Good. Put a clause guaranteeing no microphones cut, no matter how hot the take. Also require audience cue and make sure citizens, not just academics, kick the tires. They haggled wording over second and third dumpling baskets. By 3 p.m., they had a 3-page memorandum of understanding. Jaden's thumb hovered above, send to his lawyer, when the restaurant TV flipped from soap opera to breaking. Overnight graffiti at Paramount Gates. Spray paint silhouettes of cowboys with X's over mouths. Caption legends die quietly. The anchor said security camera footage showed 4 perpetrators. One resembled a New Dawn volunteer. Eyes in the booth locked. Clint, your people? Jaden, could be rogue elements. Rachel, networks will spin it as your side versus his again. We have to respond before the cycle metastasizes. Jaden sighed. Give me 2 hours to verify. If it's ours, we take public responsibility and discipline. Clint leaned back. And if the network invites me on at 6 to condemn you, I decline. Not playing whack-a-mole every hour. Rachel's phone dinged. Producer text. Panel offer with Eastwood versus Senator versus activist 5 p.m. She thumbed NO. Plugged. Instead, run Windows story tomorrow. Producer. You quitting prime time? She. I'm widening prime time. No reply. She exhaled. 4:50 p.m. Abandoned repertory theater, Echo Park. Unbeknownst to Trio, a splinter faction called Dawn/Edge prepped a more combustible stunt. They'd rented the old bijou under pretext of Queer Film Fest, wired the lobby with projectors looping violent montages from Clint's westerns juxtaposed against real dashcam shootings. At 7 p.m., they planned to unleash on social media a deepfake mashup. Clint spliced in a Charlottesville torch rally. The algorithm would feast on outrage. 5:18 p.m. Highway 880 on-ramp. Jaden's phone pinged. Volunteer liaison sent CCTV stills confirming graffiti artists belonged to Dawn/Edge, not Core New Dawn. Worse, chatter about ultimate cancellation performance tonight. Jaden relayed to Rachel, who mouth-dialed her newsroom while changing lanes. "We can't let a deepfake cook uncontrolled," she said. Clint, "Got proof." Jaden, "I know the venue. I can talk them down." Clint, "We all go." 6:42 p.m. Bijou Theater Alley. Evening draped Echo Park in bruised lavender. The theater's marquee flickered half-lit letters. Free Art Speaks, 7 p.m. Jaden approached side door first, Clint and Rachel 2 steps behind. Inside, lobby reeked of hot projector bulbs and stale popcorn. 20 activists scurried between laptops and extension cords. On screen, the deepfake loop already played mute. Clint in black and white stride, torchlight behind him, doctored audio track splicing, "Go ahead, over, you will not replace us." One editor looked up, saw the real man standing in doorway, and gasped as if a ghost had caught him plagiarizing the afterlife. Panic rippled. Someone killed the power. Projector died. Faces vanished into blinking exit signs. Jaden raised both palms. "Edge crew, stand down. This crosses lines." A voice in dark answered, "Lines are cages." Small figure stepped forward. Tiana Cruz, 15, runaway coder prodigy, anger sparking offer like struck iron. He may walk free, but his myth's murder. We're weaponizing countermyth. Clint spoke, calm. "You think that clip wins? It backfires. Folks who suspect fake will dismiss real problems you shout about." Tiana laughed, brittle. "Old man schooling deep learning algorithms? Cute." Rachel toggled phone flashlight, beam catching server racks. "These GPUs cost 50 grand. Who bankrolled?" Tiana's bravado slipped. "Anonymous donors." Jaden, "Maybe feds honeypotting, maybe trolls farming Civil War clicks. Either way, yank the upload." Tiana crossed arms. "Or what? Cancel me." Clint took a slow step closer. Decades of directing told him high stakes sets degrade fastest when nobody hears the third option line. He pulled notebook, tore blank sheet, scrawled an address. "I'm shooting a short at this warehouse Saturday. Free speech allegory, 0 budget. Want in? Handle composite effects. Get credit. Real mentorship, not anonymous Bitcoin." Silence. Everyone became microphone for heartbeat thumps. Tiana studied the paper under Rachel's flashlight, jaw working. "Why help an enemy?" "Because you're not enemy," Clint said. "Only misguided artillery." Jaden added, "Edge may isolate, Windows invites." He used the new program's name intentionally. Tiana looked around. Her crew avoided her gaze. Finally, she powered down the bootleg server. "We keep the GPUs," she said. "No upload." "Deal," Clint answered. Rachel captured nothing on video. She'd promised, but etched every second to memory. Story of legend, disarming deepfake, with internship offer would play better than any mic drop. 8:30 p.m., street-side taco stand. Ceasefire celebrated over Al Pastor. Jaden drafted a press release. Dawn/Edge expelled. New Dawn recommitted to Windows. Rachel forwarded to networks. Clint gnawed tortilla, half listening to police sirens fade farther west. Phone buzzed again. Congressman's office, second request. He answered this time. "I'll testify if hearing's public and you seat protesters at witness table." Policy aide dumbfounded but agreed to relay. He hung up, muttered, "Never ask for power without also asking for oversight." Jaden grinned. "That's practically radical." Clint shrugged. "Old cowboys call it Saturday night poker rules. No eyes unseen." Next day, 10 a.m., Studio 4 backlot. Network CEO greenlit Rachel's Windows project documentary, 60-day turnaround. She assembled skeleton crew. Cinematographer who favored verite, sound tech with jazz timing, editor with gift for symmetrical montage. First shoot, Clint signing scholarship charter alongside Jaden at university steps. Cameras rolled as both inked. August flipped the paper. Clint pinned it with his watch, symbolically resetting time zones between generations. 3 weeks later, Senate Annex Chamber. Hearing day. Marble halls echoed with competing entourages. Name placards read, M.R. Clint Eastwood, filmmaker. M.S. Rachel Fong, journalist. M.R. Jaden Bliss, student activist. M.S. Tiana Kreuz, digital artist. Committee chair expected fireworks, but something unusual unfolded. Panelists deferred, referenced each other respectfully, corrected hostile senators gently, even cracked small jokes. C-SPAN viewership climbed. Hashtag Windows hearing rivaled playoffs. College debate clubs live-tweeted rhetorical scores. At recess, senator murmured to aide, "They're robbing us of gotchas." Aide, "Maybe that's progress." Documentary premiere, 6 months out. Windows project ballooned. 12 scholarships, 40 debates, City College streaming license. Rachel's film, Open Range of Ideas, screened simultaneously on PBS and conservative Blaze TV after both agreed to carry identical cut. Rotten Tomatoes critics from Polar columns gave it matching 93%. On TikTok, Tiana's behind-the-scenes clips hit 20 million views. Deepfakes deconstructed, replaced by tutorials on ethical compositing. New Dawn still marched, but chants now mingled with invitations. Join Friday debate. Downtown walls sported murals of open sash windows, each pane showing diverse faces exchanging speech balloons. A rival extremist group attempted to vandalize one mural. Neighborhood grandmothers formed night patrol, armed only with thermoses of Atoll, convinced conversation needed guardians too. 1 year later, high desert film set. Clint, 80-something going on perennial, directed his zero-budget short into dusty sunset. Crew half veterans, half rookies from Windows cohort. Jaden assisted camera. Rachel logged continuity. Tiana supervised a drone shot slicing between monolith boulders. The story followed two estranged brothers rebuilding their father's windmill. Every take seemed to hum with subtext nobody needed to overspell. Between setups, Clint walked the perimeter, boots crunching shale. He paused on ridge, watched twin contrails carve the sky, and thought of that April morning when L.A. felt poised to ignite. Not fixed, never fixed, but maybe retuned, like a radio dialing between storms to catch a half-forgotten melody. Rachel approached, holding the self-winding wristwatch he'd set on an Apple box. "Lost time again," she teased. He buckled it on. 9 seconds a month, he said. Cost of honest mechanics. She gestured at the busy set. "Think the country's gaining or losing seconds?" "Doesn't matter," he replied, squinting at horizon. "What matters is we're still synchronizing." A windmill blade creaked, cameras rolled anew, and voices, old, young, once opposed, blended into the most stubborn soundtrack the Republic ever produced. A long, imperfect, necessary conversation that refused fade out while there was still light enough to frame another shot.